thank you, first of all, for taking this time out with me. I mean, on a minute's notice, to sit down with me to do this podcast, and I hope that it goes out wide and clear to everyone. You get to hear it. So I came here, like I told you, I came here for two reasons. The first one is because you wanted to show me your place.
Yes.
We do that, and you wanted to ask me some questions,
Yes,
you said.
yes.
And anything you want to ask is fine with me.
Well, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I wanted to see your place, because
Yes.
you have the 6th floor and the 9th floor.
Yes.
Now this is beautiful.
Thank you.
For those that look on the video vlog and see it, they can see the place. And this is just nice. The view outside is excellent. You have a nice, up on the top floor.
I am.
This is fantastic, fantastic.
No,
So tell me, let me see, how long have you been in Japan now?
Now 15 years.
15 years?
Yes.
What brought you
years.
here? Why did you decide to come?
First we came and we did, my husband and I, we did mission work.
Okay, you were married when you came.
Yes, I'm still married.
No, I know. I mean, you were married.
Yeah, but I was married.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
but married when I came.
Yeah.
We had been married 5 years before we moved here.
Okay. From where? Where'd you come from?
I'm from the States, but I'm from Mississippi, but we met when we were in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
And then we got married and lived there. And yeah.
Where's David from?
David's from Atlanta.
Atlanta,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's his hometown.
And you're born and raised in Mississippi?
I am. I'm a Mississippi girl.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking. My father's from Louisiana.
Okay, what part?
Yeah, Shreveport.
Okay.
Yeah.
I lived in New Orleans for a little bit.
Oh, did you?
I did. I was one of the girls that went to Mardi Gras and never left for a year. So I transferred to Xavier.
Oh, did you really?
I did. I transferred to Xavier for a year program because I enjoyed it so much.
Wow, that's neat, that's neat. So go on, so you're going to tell me, so you and your husband came over here for missionary work?
Yes.
All right.
And we're both into music, and so we did gospel choirs, and then of course in Japan we taught English, had an English program at the church that we were servicing, and then after a while we were only supposed to be here for 2 years, but somehow it turned into 15.
Where'd you come when you came to Japan? Where area?
In that time we were in like the Itabashi-ku area.
Itabashi-ku.
So Shimura,
okay.
yeah, we were in Shimura Sanchome.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah.
That's neat. That's neat. And then in your son, you told me he's 6 years old now.
He's 6 years old. Yeah.
So you just had him 6 years.
Yeah, shoot, that was my surprise, baby.
Is that right?
Yeah, they told my husband and I had been married 13 years before we conceived him, but that was because doctors told us that we couldn't have kids.
You couldn't have kids.
Yeah, and so I remember one of my good friends came up to me and said, "Hey, I think you're gonna have a baby soon." And then another friend came to me and said, "Why don't you have kids? Do you want kids?" And I said, "Yeah," but the doctor told me, he said, "Can I do an examination on you?" I said, "Yeah." He did Chinese herbal medicine.
Okay.
So he did an exam, and then he said, "Your room is too cold." So he gave me like a black ginseng type thing that I took for about 6 months. Mm-hmm. And then during that time, my husband had to go to Kansai Osaka for a music conference. And when we were there, the person who's over the Kansai music conference, his mom was like, "Do you want kids?" I was like, "Yes, ma'am, I do, but you know." And she said, "Let me give you a hug." And she said, "Don't be surprised if you conceive very soon." And we conceived that very night.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you.
Wow.
And then Jonas was born 9-10 months later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Enjoy your life.
I do. I was surprised. So when the doctor said congratulations, I was like, for what? I did. I was.
So you have so outside your family life, then you set up a restaurant. What made you decide? What other businesses have you done? Is this the first?
Mainly just everything has been mainly in the food industry. You know, when we got here, a friend of ours asked us, the same friend at the church, asked us to do a Thanksgiving party. And so we did the Thanksgiving party. The first party was like 30 people came. And then we did that for 10 years. And it was just a free party because we just were grateful that we were able to live and do well. And with that, people start asking, can you cater? Can you do cooking classes? So I was doing catering all the years, almost just about all the years that we've been here. And then for the cooking classes, I did that for about 8 years, 9 years. And then finally students were just like, hey, I love your food, but when I get home, it just don't taste the same.
When they try to do, you mean when they try to do the same thing?
When they go back and cook it home.
Now the cuisine, people don't have to guess it. Soul food.
Yes, it's soul food.
And that's why this is called the Soul Food House.
Yes, it is.
That's what we're talking
about.
Shoot. So what are some of the things that you make? I mean, because I've had the food.
Yes,
and
you have.
You caught me sneaking.
Yeah, I did. I remember when I saw you.
I was in the car.
I was like, you sitting in the car. I was like,
guilty as charged.
You could have ate the restaurant.
I know. Go on. So.
I'm Mississippi, so I gotta have some fried catfish on the menu.
Yes.
And of course, my husband, North Carolina, so we have pulled pork.
He cooks too? Does he cook?
He does cook. He does. He's a good cook. It was actually, we were going to open a cafe like everybody else does.
Right.
But it was when I got pregnant with my son, and I was like, I love Japanese food, but when you're pregnant, you don't want nothing like that. You want home food.
The stuff you used to.
You want that stuff that's going to make you feel good. So basically, David was cooking all the time because I wasn't cooking much or nothing. So he made me pots of chicken and dumplings, fried catfish, mac and cheese. He can cook. My husband can cook.
That was before the restaurant.
That was before the restaurant. So he was.
But did you know he could cook before that happened?
You want to know what was funny?
Yeah, okay.
So when we were dating,
right.
he asked me for the key to my apartment.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. And he went to my house, and when I got home from school, I was in grad school.
Okay.
When I got home from school, he had dinner laid out for me. So about a month so later, when I met his family, and I was like, and telling them this story, they looked at me and said, he can cook.
Now, I have to tell you, my wife did the same thing. My wife's Japanese, and her parents didn't know she could cook. And I said, why don't you? Because she used to come over to my house and cook for me while we were dating. Because we dated for 8 years and 4 months before we got married. And I said, why don't you cook at home? She said, if I do, I'll always be cooking at home. Was that David's story too?
Yeah, that was probably his story.
He knew if he did it, then his mom said, guess who's going to start cooking from now on if you want to stay here? He said,
yes. David, interestingly enough, I don't know if you ever had an opportunity to have his cocktails, but David,
no, I never have, no.
David is one of those, he has a good palate. So he knows how to put flavors together that you don't think would go together.
Cocktails, you mean as in drinks?
Yeah, as in drinks. He do virgin cocktails. He do other kind of cocktails. So, rather than buying liqueurs, he makes his own liqueur because he wants to make sure that flavor that he's looking for. And so he's always experimenting when it comes to that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yes. So as a result, it was the same thing when he's cooking at home. He just knows how to put different spices and different things together to be able to get a flavor that you wouldn't even imagine that would go together. So
and he doesn't.
He's good. He's good at. My baby can cook. Praise God.
That's what I'm talking about. Look at you. Wow. And your specialty is?
Me, I just enjoy people and making sure that they can enjoy a good home cooked
meal. Man, David, come on over here, man. You got to sit here. Now we're video recording this too. And your wife is just singing your praise, brother. Shoot, she's singing your praise. I was telling her that you did something similar to what my wife did. She told me that your parents. Why don't you sit right there because the video's right here. So this is for people. The people listening to this won't know that we're filming. I mean, they don't know that we're filming. The people filming it get to see it if they want to come and see it. But she was telling me that your parents didn't know that you could cook.
Oh yeah.
Say.
No. I specifically made sure that I ate when they said there was food, and I didn't tell them.
But yeah, this boy can cook really, really good. So if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have made it through. Because I had to go on bed rest during my pregnancy. So literally anything I was, like, he didn't know how to make chicken and dumplings at that time. Now I don't eat anybody else's chicken and dumplings but his.
It was so good.
It was that good. It was that good. And it's on the menu.
There you go.
Well, I'm doing a special month, so it's coming.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So let's make this 2 ways. You said you want to ask me some things too. If you want to do it now, we can do it later. Anytime you want to.
Anyway. Now. Well,
okay, sure.
It was just mainly, I think I told you before that I started the Legacy Foundation in Japan. Right. And at that time, I was just starting it. And now that it is has been launched, it was just like, you've been in leadership. You know what it's like to help people to move from one phase in their life into another phase. And I just really wanted your wisdom into how I could be a good leader for the community. You know what I mean? And basically, we are trying to build the African American community here in Japan. That, of course, that's inclusive of all blacks that are here. But it's very interesting that when we were launching this organization, many people didn't want to necessarily say, you know, that I'm African American. It seemed like we have some shame.
You said they didn't want to say that?
Yeah.
What's hard now?
They avoid it. Like,
listen. No. There's been many times when I've come up to people and I see a brother and stuff. But see, I was here at the time when, if you were walking around, you had to be African American, because Africans weren't coming here.
Yeah.
They weren't here like they are now. So you knew. And I used to be the kind of brother, I'd pull up in my little sports car and say, hey, brother, what's up to?
what's up?
You know, and I wouldn't go, what's up? You know, I'd say, you know, make sure you're straight up, you know. I wasn't thinking I'm all wrong or nothing. But anyway, so I'd meet brothers here then. And because I lived close to a university, ICU, I lived out in Mitaka, which is still part of Tokyo.
Yeah.
And I met a couple of brothers that way. They were going to ICU as an exchange student. So I met them at that time. The question you said about leadership, the one thing that I've always tried to focus on whenever it comes to leading is, you are the example. And I think that as far as parenting too, what I say is this, and I'm gonna use God, but I usually say universal force. All right, what you are is God's gift to you. What you become is your gift to God. So you owe it to yourself, to your child, but most of all yourself, to be all you can be, to show your children what's possible. So that's how I look at it with my son. I feel like this. Why you want me here today? But that's how I look at it. Now this is what I do with my sons. And there's a couple of things because they're going to challenge you. And I think the reason why our children can challenge us is because they're with you 24/7. They know the things that get on your nerve, and they remind you of you or your spouse. And you're going to take it out of them. If it might be in your spouse, you may not be able to change them, but doggone, I'm going to take that out of you. Yeah. You're not going to be like that part of your spouse you don't like, or whatever it may be, or my mother or my father or anything. You see too much in them, right? So this is what I try to tell my kids, and they'll say things to you sometimes that might bother you, like we did to our parents. Like, well, I didn't ask to be here. You know, you shouldn't have had me. And we say things like that, not thinking. My sons tried something like that once to their mother.
Just once.
Once, yeah. Because I'm this type. I have 4 sons. And there's 6 years between them, from the oldest to the youngest. And I've learned from being a teacher, I don't like to tell, when I teach, if I'm teaching one child, I talk loud enough so the whole class can hear me. So I don't have to say it over and over again. And they're going to pick it up because people love to listen to stuff they're not supposed to.
Isn't that the truth?
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when it's not being said to them, they get it.
Yeah.
Right? Another thing is like when my sons are
I do it with the staff. She's like,
with the staff?
Don't do that. Don't be that customers. I'm like, no, don't throw my stuff away.
Okay, right.
Hand it to me so I can correct it.
There you go.
That's them drinks right there. You know,
right.
When I tell you he protective of them cocktails, he protective of them cocktails.
You're gonna make sure those.
I drink that. Don't be throwing that away.
No, not if it's wrong, I know how to correct it.
Yeah.
I said, don't throw it because I can be fixed.
Don't be like, shoot, it's wrong.
So don't. You said, wait, just a man, money, baby.
Shit, my money away.
That's right, and my drink.
And the fact that I'm standing right here and can help.
I got you. Yeah. But so like with the boys and stuff like that, like they sat up one time and they weren't speaking. One of my sons, he knows who it was, wasn't speaking to his mother. So she came to me and told me that. Well, he overheard her say something comparing him to one of his brothers. And not in a negative way, basically like don't do like he's doing. And it hurt his feelings, so he was saying that. So I asked him a question. I said, let me ask him. He said, well, nobody understands me. And I said, okay, you think no one understands you in your 15 years on this planet. Let me ask you a question. What color are your mother's eyes? I mean, are they dark brown, light, are they blue? What color are they? Well, let me ask you this. What did your mother do? Tell me about her life when she was 5 years old. What was her life like? I don't know. What about when she was 10? 20? What about 5 years? What was her life like? You don't know anything about her life? Guess what? She knows everything about yours before even you did. You just started figuring out about you when you turned 2, 3 years old. You started to find out your name, let alone walk. She knows it, but you know nothing about her, and you think she's supposed to be worried about how you feel? Excuse me, son. That's backwards. You got to straighten this out. So now I talk to them in those type of terms.
Yeah.
And I said, you might feel like you're wondering why you got here. Let me explain something to you. When your mother and I got together, during your conception, I put 300 million potential, listen, potential human beings in her, and you beat them all out to get here. I did not pick you. You picked us.
Oh, use that!
Am I right? Am I right?
I'm gonna use that!
Am I right? I did not pick you. You picked us. Shoot. And if I were a fisherman, what do you think you'd be learning to do right now?
Right, Judge. You better
Shoot. That's how we do it. So leadership is that way too. Everyone, you're not going to influence everybody. McDonald's doesn't sell their hamburgers to everyone. That's why you can have a Wendy's, a Big Boys, and everything else. In a little hamburger shop, I mean, people still come to you. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Same with anything. So you may not hit every child just correct, but I think we have a responsibility as parents or as leaders to try to influence people to their path as much as possible, because they have an inalienable right to take whatever path they want. Yeah. Right? Like I told you about the guy that said he felt like he was a woman in a man's body.
Right? I encourage it. One staff at one point was like, I think I'm going to quit. I'm like, why? I think I want to try doing this. Just know we'll support you. I mean, I'm not going to stop you.
There you go. There you go. But that's what all the big companies are doing now.
Did what he thought he wanted to do, and then was like, can I come back? I'm like, all right.
There you go. I know one guy that specializes in doing that. There's ways you can be mean about that too. You can come back, but you're going to have to come back like this.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You can do that. You don't have to be that way. But the big tech companies say this. That's why they allow you to come in anytime you want. The bigger companies are saying, I don't care what time you come in, how you come in. This is what we want you to do, and this is how much time you have to do it. Do it the way you, as long as within reason, do it the way you want to. Just meet this goal. And that's why people can sleep in the office sometimes, come in there in their pajamas if they want to. They can, and that's the deal, because this
tech world, I take that kind of stance.
That's exactly how they do. That's how they do in tech, big time. You guys, that industry started it.
I'm less strict on people that come late until they start acting a nut. Then it's like, I don't need you to work hard when you get here if you're late and then complain at me.
Got you.
If you come in late, get to work. But if you stress, say you stress but don't complain that I'm not doing something when you're not doing what you said you would do.
There you go. There you go.
It's like, no, I don't have sympathy for you. You're late.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you what I use on that. When my staff used to come to me, this is what I used to use. I'd say, now look, you're like, let me ask you something. I tell them this, let me ask you something. Because I try to be cool, but that's not how I did at the beginning. This is something but now I don't have the problem, because it's about how you bring people in. Yeah. Now you start bringing them in better, and you start picking better. Yeah. You can pretty much tell.
Yeah, that's true.
But and everyone's allowed that first time, and I say, okay, that's it. And then I don't tell them, I let someone else, but they see me and they know. I always put someone between me and them. But this is the analogy I give them. I said, now in your payment, because I pay my people in cash, because they're mostly part-time, I say, here's your cash. If it was missing 1 yen, would you bring it up to me? Just 1 yen.
Of course they would.
But you're willing to come in here 5 minutes late, and I'm not supposed to say anything?
You got
it's
that
only
right.
5 minutes. It's only 1 yen. See what I'm saying?
I
So
know what you're
no,
saying.
I prefer. But would you complain if I put 10 more yen in there, or 1,000 yen more than it was? How would you feel then? You feel like either you think I was stupid, or I really valued your service. How do you think I feel if you're here 10 minutes early? 15 minutes early. Want to stay longer? Right? I might be handling the keys to you if I'm not smart, and saying, hey, why don't you take care of my books too? And that's how like people lose their business. But anyway, that's another story. You never let people do too much. So what else? You were going to ask me something else? That was it?
No, it was.
And one thing I should tell you, David, that you may not be picked up well, because we have mics on in the podcast, because that's one reason why I usually do one person at a time. But if you're not, that's okay. They'll hear you faintly in the background. I know it's going to pick up.
I'm pretty sure my family voice picks up on microphones.
It does.
All right.
Why did you decide to do what you do?
What do I do? What do you think I do?
Well, you do so much in my mind. But I know that you have the school and that you're.
Gymnastics program.
Did you start in gymnastics?
I was a competitive gymnast from the age of 15.
Okay.
In high school. That's what kept me in high school, because you had to have a C average, which isn't saying a whole lot when you're an inner city kid.
Okay.
When they're just trying to get you through. C average meant that I didn't complain in class. I usually came to class. That didn't mean that I
work, sort of.
Listen.
Sort of.
From the West Coast and from where you're from, I didn't start. I'm embarrassed to say how late it was when I learned how to read.
Okay.
You know, if you look a certain way and you act a certain way, they just let you go through. It's just a system. They don't expect you to be around long anyway. You know, someone's gonna pick you up and I'll be doing free labor, getting $2 an hour. You know, in an all men's camp, same kind of clothes. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
You know what? Let me ask you something,
Okay.
and this is actually a little something different. Knowing that you have raised 4 sons.
Still raising. It doesn't stop till you take your last breath.
I hear you. And did your kids all go to international school or Japanese school? Or?
Both. They did both. They had homeschool.
All right.
All right. The path was nursery. For some of them, they went to nursery school first, international school. Then I put them in. Then I had them in Japanese school, in elementary school, so they could learn to read and write in Japanese, because their mother's Japanese. And I want to make sure they had that. And then I had them homeschool. Well, I had them homeschool in between the international school, then I had them homeschool, then I put them in Japanese school, then after that I sent them to international again. And then they all went to international colleges.
Okay.
Only one went to the States, went to college in the States, Florida, Miami University.
Did they appreciate this? Because, you know, at this point I have Jonas, he's 6 years old, and he's going to Japanese preschool, Hokkuen, and so we're in that process of trying to decide, you know, what do we want to do? We wanted him to go to Japanese elementary school to be able to get that foundation, because we're here, and we wanted him to be able to read and write. And come to find out, you know, he was talking to his peoples the other night. It's another young lady who she's American. Her parents are American, and they grew up in Ibaraki, so she's fluent in Japanese, but she's like, what, in her 20s? And literally, that's big sister. So it was just like watching him just really go all in Japanese. I ain't even seen him do that before. You know, I'm just like, and he was just into it. I'm just like, what? That's my child.
I wouldn't even say into it, because it's the same equivalent of people asking, well, how do you do what you do? No, it's just what I do.
I know.
Like, he's
not in it.
He's just...
That's what he does. That's his life.
But it was funny when she spoke English and he turned around and he looked at her, he's like, you speak English? You know, but at the same time, I'm also like thinking, there are many things about Japanese school system, like for example, one of the things that I wasn't happy about when we were talking about correcting kids earlier before recording, my son wanted okawari. He wanted some more, you know, extra food during the lunchtime. And then at first, what he wanted they didn't have, but they gave him maybe soup and rice or something like that. So, but he wanted something else, and he got upset because it wasn't what he wanted and threw the food to the ground. And I'm going like, so the kid, when they told me about it, you know, they're going like, oh, daijoubu, it's okay, you know, boys will be boys or whatever. And I said, and I looked at him and I'm going like, if he throw food to the floor, he don't eat. That's it. That's your portion. Don't give him more. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Listen, you know,
that's your portion.
You know what they used to call me when I took my kids to restaurants, Japanese restaurants? Kibishi otosan. Look. My father never hit me once. My father never hit me once. He didn't have to, because I have older half brother.
He didn't have to.
The visual experience was enough for me. My father could look at me and I was good. Whatever you need, Pop, just tell me. When I turned and when I said, yeah, that's right. I didn't need any of that. But my sons knew, and I was strict to a point, but they knew how much I loved them and how much I cared. And as I told you, I never hit my kids. I pinched them. Yeah. That was my way. And I found out about that by accident with my first son. We were at the club, the American club, and there were all of about maybe 2 black people there. Me and one other person and their family, their family. And my son decided at 2 or 3, like they do, he didn't want to eat something for some reason and decided to express it verbally. Yeah, to express it. And he had some pipes on him, boy. And it didn't help him any that the whole lobby seemed to be filled with everybody that day. And not a single one was black. And they're looking at me, and I'm thinking, no, he's not. And I'm trying to put his mouth in my right in between my neck and my shoulder to stop him, and his neck is strong, and and I just lost it. So I pinched him in the back of his leg. And for whatever reason, yes, he did. That's exactly what he did. Look, he froze. I said, this worked? And I said, you want some more? He went, I said, you sure? Because I sure wanted to give him. He said, no. So we go into the bathroom. I clean him up and everything else. It got so good. And I always explain why I did it. And it's hard to abuse a pinch. You're not going to come home and say, I'm feeling bad, And then when they get to a certain age, you can't, this is dad, was that good for you? I think you got more out of that than I did. So I pinched them, but I would always explain before I pinched them, or it depends on what it was, afterwards. And there's another thing you should do. They couldn't hit each other. And it got so good in the family. And my wife, I saw her spank Lance once. I happened to come back from somewhere, and I said, don't ever put your hand on him like that again. This is what we do. And she did. So from a distance, they could be out on the soccer field. And Lewis could be watching butterflies or playing with the ants, and the ball's coming his way. And I'd get upset because they want to get going out there now. And I'm saying, come on, you're supposed to be the fastest, the sharpest, and everything else. So I look at him and I go like this. Nobody knew what the sign was, but he knew. I go, beep. And now no one knew but him, and he start looking at him like,
I thought Jonas.
There you go.
And like,
whatever works,
he
man.
knows when I do this.
He knows. He's like, all right, you're not making rabbit ears. You're not rabbit ears. He knows. He's had one of those. So he knows.
But
we all do. This. I never try to tell people how to raise their children because, like, if you said I don't know you well enough for you. And even if I did, the combination together, when you and him, the three of you together, it's too difficult. All of us have our unique things. And what is he going to focus on? It's like, look at it. We all look at different things. I tell people the best you can do is try to deal with that person who gives you the most problems, who lies to you, who tells all your secrets to everybody, who treats you, when you're feeling down, that person makes you feel even worse. The person you see in the mirror. Now, if you can make that person your best friend, you'll never have another enemy. That's the one we have to work on. That's the one we have to work on, because that person beats us up. We're sitting back trying to get some sleep, and all of a sudden say, you know what? You should have did such and such. Oh no, not again. Or somebody's like this. This is my favorite. When you become known to the public. And you think everyone should see you. No, listen. No, I'm telling you. No, listen. No, look. You've done this one before, right? Listen, you've done this one before. You come somewhere and someone's like this, right? And then that person inside you starts saying, that person doesn't like you. Oh boy, it must have been my food or something. And you're looking at him and you're getting closer and he's like this, and then all of a sudden he goes, oh, LaTonya, how you doing? That cat couldn't see? I thought he was mad at me. Because of what that person inside you told you. Some people want to call it the devil. No, it's not. That's you. And the stuff you want to think about. And that's what we have to correct. That's the hardest person to deal with.
It is. But that's the hard thing to do, even within the foundation and within our own community, to get people to be able to look at themselves.
But then you do it by looking at yourself.
Exactly. One of the things that we're trying to really, what I want to do is when I remember Mom always told me, remember who you are. But what I wanted to take that a little further and say, in order to remember who you are, you must first know who you are. That's know what I mean? So let's go on that journey to find out who you are, love who you are, appreciate who you are, but we have to see ourselves. So it was quite interesting that the more and more that I look at our logo, and our logo is of two faces, of a man and a woman looking at each other. It's not one elevated up, it's not one elevated down, it's one looking directly in the eye, because we got to learn how to have those conversations, looking at each other and saying, hey, we may disagree on some things, but just because we disagree don't mean our friendship over.
Oh, we have to be disagreeable.
You know what I mean? It's almost like right now, oh, you ain't on the same page as me.
But that's because
we don't have the same politics. We don't have the same this. Oh, I can't be your friend no more. Defriend you on Facebook. We don't know how to have
But I have to tell you, LaTonya, that has been our nature, and it always will be.
It is.
That's what we are. But listen.
But can we have those conversations?
With some people you can.
That's why this place
I wrote what I wrote the other day on the chalkboard. So people come in, they read it, and they understand. No. Have a conversation with somebody. Talk. Shutting up and talking to yourself is not a conversation.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's a monologue for destruction.
It's
I had a good friend named Terry. She was a model here, a black model. And every time I used to see her, she was always so happy and so pleasant. And I said, Terry, I've known her. I said, Terry, tell me, why is it that every time I see you, you're so happy? She said, because when I'm not, I stay inside. Little things like, I like those anecdotes because so little said but means so much. I had another friend, Bob White. I said, Bob, why is it that every time, all I've known of you, every time you make a promise, you keep it? He said, because I don't make many. I thought, why? You can control how many promises you make. I never thought of that. You don't have to promise something, you know. So I changed everything. Just don't make it the promise. And tell them, look, guys.
Like, no, they want to nail you down with the promise. I'm like,
No, something might.
Maybe I can.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Can
and you can be straight to me.
No.
That is a definite no.
No. But we
I'm trying
learned
to do
that
something.
from Jonas.
Maybe.
Let me tell you something. You know how we learn stuff from Jonas. He's so funny.
So your kids will teach you too.
Now, yeah, they do. Of course they will.
Maybe.
Jonas.
Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, he
It's
was
like,
and then we're like, oh, that was so cute.
That's a political level, maybe.
It was like, oh, you're so cute. Let's do it again on camera. No, I don't do that for the camera. No.
Oh no, that
you ain't getting proof on me.
he is the one child that if you catch him on camera doing something, he allowed you to.
He allowed you to. He will not let you do that. He knows that already.
You just randomly catching him on camera, ain't gonna happen.
He might grab your camera and throw it and break it up. He will let me catch it. Excuse me.
Like,
In those days, they take the film out. You know?
That boy is something else.
He'll be like, let me film this.
Well, Jonas has a power that I've tried to tell my sons to use. Being African American and being here and speaking Japanese. There are a lot of us, but not that many.
It's not.
Oh, it's
There's
a
not that many.
superpower here.
Anywhere in the world, but look, what if
We
he's
were sitting on a bus with the grandma, and she was like, he needs to be in a model agency. He's charming, he speaks Japanese, he's good looking.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, those are three of the most wonderful and dangerous traits
you could ever
about
have?
him.
You know?
I'm just like, don't call my Kyle.
He knows that he's all of those things.
Yeah, that was
And
the problem.
he'll use them.
That's the problem.
And they're abusing them sometimes. It's like, stop. Don't go over and smile at her just so you can get her dessert. Because you know she's going to give it to you. And then we feel bad and want to give her the dessert for free because
Right.
you went.
Oh, he's doing this in his restaurant. He's doing this in his restaurant.
He's doing this in his restaurant.
So he's doing this in his restaurant. He said, Daddy, what are you talking about? I don't know any other kids in my class that got their own restaurant.
Yeah, but he does make me a little nervous for the future because he doesn't like injustices. Anything that he sees something going wrong.
Well, the world has whatever the world has. It's gonna It's gonna throw a lot of stuff at him. So you don't have to worry about it.
He's one of those. So that's why I wasn't quite sure if it's better for him to be in international school.
But the reason why I put him there, see, international schools give him connections that he'll never have.
Yeah.
See, if you keep him in these local schools, these kids are just going to be here. And Japan moves at a different pace. Now, Jonas may be traveling all of his life, and if he wants to, why not have friends that live all over the world?
That is a good point.
That's the reason why I did it.
Okay, that's a good point.
Because everything you receive comes through or from someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're dealing with people, if you come from a small town and those are the only people you're dealing with, where do you think you're going to end up being?
That's a good point.
But if you've got people that are traveling, friends that live all over the world, my sons are, point in case. My son was getting ready to go to Dubai for the first time. I have never been to the Middle East. I went with him. But we get to Narita, and I'm thinking, okay, I've got some friends that are there. So I'm going to give my son, but they're my age. And I know that's not who he wants to see. We're at the airport. This handsome Arab guy with a beautiful woman, Arab woman, come walking up, Lance! And I'm going, no, the cat's a little bit taller, about 6'4" or something. Lance, and hugs him, looking good and handsome. The guy you see as a model. That's what he said. I'm on my way to Dubai. He said, so am I. I said, get together. Come on over when you get there. He said, yeah. Afterwards, he said, Dad, that's the guy I was telling you about, whose dad has this and that. And My boy's out shining. Meet this cat. Really? You want to have, that's the reason why I do it, because it's so easy to communicate now, so easy to travel now.
Yeah.
So I think for Jonas, and if he could take his ability, his Japanese speaking ability around the world, he might be someone who helps someone do business here because he understands, elementary is good. He gets the heart of how Japanese feel. That's why I put my kids in elementary school here, so they could understand the feeling. But understand, that's not how Japanese are going to see you. They see the surface. Most people do.
Yeah, they do.
I used to have a percentage I used to use. I said when people look at you, let's say like 10% of the people can look at you, and because they're so good and they've traveled all over the world, they know what you're like. They can look at each part of you and they know by your movements and everything else. Another 10% on the bottom could care less. They're just thinking about the meal, if they can get a meal today or whatever.
Yeah.
But that 80% sees you the way the media's portrayed you.
Yeah.
Or by the first word. You could say you're Christian, or you might say you're African. You say African. They have a set way of thinking of how you are. If they don't think you're an athlete or a singer and you're African American, then maybe you might be a thug, or maybe you might be, but they don't see you as someone being wealthy, you know.
That's
what the world does.
It is what the world does.
And
I just don't want to be anybody's stereotype. You know
but
what I mean?
You've already stopped taking yourself away. You're on the other side of the planet. Where you come from, everybody's standing upside down right now.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about?
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
See what I'm saying? This is like a friend of mine. I'm sitting up there and I'm telling him, I said, you know something, I just want to do this. I want to have this now. He said, Lance, what day's today? I said, it's Tuesday. He said, what time is it? I said, around 2 p.m. So it's not even lunchtime. I said, no. And what are you doing? You're in a car driving me around Tokyo, one of the most expensive cities in the world, and you're talking about, I wish I had more, I'm doing this. They said, man, you better understand where you're at. And I said, okay, let me shut up.
Yeah.
Sometimes we forget where we're at.
That is
you know what it took for you to get here. You know how much courage it would take for you to be here.
That is true.
And you're not surviving, you're thriving. There's only two types of foreigners here.
Yeah.
Those that survive and those that thrive. And you don't want to be in this country and try to survive.
You got that right.
Talk to me. We can do that at home and a lot better. In a bigger home, get money for nothing. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
And be heated all the time. You don't have any worries and nothing. You can sit around and do whatever you want.
Like just
parking, you can park as many cars you want in your place. You don't have nothing to worry about.
Central air units, you know that just regulated temperature.
You know what I'm talking about?
Walk in the house,
hot cold water everywhere.
I know, right?
The kind of food you like to eat anytime, 24/7, and friends to talk to. Then you come over here and you go, whoop.
Yeah.
Okay. But you learn something now. If you go back to the States, they would think you can fly.
Yeah, that's so
because
true.
of what you can do.
Yeah. Now this
what
is
you've
true.
learned.
Yeah, this is true.
Which you've handled. People come to you and say, you know, I didn't get this today, man. And you're here, and you can file this and say that you're a minority, and get money for. Come on, and you're worried about that? I was in a country where I couldn't speak or read the language.
Yeah.
And set up a restaurant.
Well, look what you did.
See what I'm saying?
I'm trying to be like you.
No.
I'm trying to be like you.
No. But that's what you do. And I've been here 48 years now.
That's it.
46, maybe 46. I like to extend. You know how you extend it. The fish gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
How old were you when you got here?
I was 22 when I came here.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I was in the Air Force when I came here. I came here in 72. No, wait, let me think. I think it was 74 and I got out in 76. Yeah, I came here in 74, got out in 76.
And why did you decide to stay?
Well,
wait. How old are you? Because you don't look like you look like
come on. From one black person to another, how old did you think I am? I mean, all this gray hair now. Now, you know, this is from stress.
But still.
Come on.
Mine.
You know when Japanese people ask me, because I know they can't tell, and when I used to ride my motorcycle, I ride my motorcycle every summer. I couldn't do it this time because of Corona and stuff. I don't like telling Japanese people my age because I feel bad. I'm a visitor in their country, and they usually think I'm a lot younger than I am. And I'm on this big motorcycle, and they're talking about they're retired and everything else, and they might just be 50 or something. They think I'm 40, you know, might be approaching 50. I'm 68. I just turned 68 this month.
Okay.
You know. So black people, when they look close enough, they can tell. Rather than get all those wrinkles and shit. He's ain't that skin's not smooth enough yet. Yeah,
no, well, see, that means you got that good DNA.
No. Tell me about it. Well, listen, if you mix us up that much, and we're the ones that made it across.
Yes.
The rest didn't make it. Come on.
Yeah.
We made it across, and after all that breeding and everything they've done with it, come on.
Yeah.
That's why they're so scared. Anyway, that's why people get scared of us. You don't have to plug us in. You've already bred us. We're the last race to really be bred. Over 400 years, we were bred. And you don't breed any animal for weakness. Come on now. That's what I see. So I think I can understand. I'd be afraid too if I bred someone for a long period of time. Yeah. and like I saw this one sister on YouTube, someone put it up, and she was really upset about some killing. Some other guy had been shot in the States. It's become so everyday that's not, you can't.
Story now.
So she said, look, and she ranted on and on, but she said something really profound at the end. She said, we're asking for reparations. We're asking for you to forgive us. Be glad we're not asking you for revenge. And I hadn't thought of that. You better be glad we're not asking for revenge. I said, uh-oh. People are getting like that in the States. Whoa.
I ain't never thought about that.
She said, she went on and on and on, and she said, but we're not asking for revenge. I thought, whoa. But anyway, that's another thing, and that's something that's that's a part of man. What I tried to teach, I tried to make sure with my sons, I don't know how good a job I've done, and my wife said every now and then, I don't know, are you making them become racist or not? And I said, all of us are to a certain extent. We tend to like to be around our own people, and around people we can associate with and be with.
Yeah, that's true.
But one thing I've always told them, the issues you see, people of color, any color, white, black, all the range from white to black, all the issues and problems they go through are human issues.
This is true.
It's what we do as human beings, because if we all look the same way, I guarantee we'd find a difference. Yeah. Your mold is 1 millimeter to the left, and mine's right here, and Les is right here. We got a problem. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
We would, and see, people understand it. In the other animal kingdoms, why a lion, you shouldn't stick your head in one's mouth, because it just might eat you.
Yeah, that's true.
A crocodile just might bite you. Yeah. Why would you think human beings are any different? We've been killing to survive all our lives. We've been eating our own babies. We've been doing all this stuff. Why is it a surprise now? Yeah. What is his name? Neil Tyson, the physicist?
I'm not sure.
He talks about stars and everything else. He's a physicist. He's fantastic. He said something recently. They said, do you believe in this DNA and stuff? He said, I don't like this, going back into your ancestry, because what point do you go to? He said, we're all from Africans. So we know that. So when do I decide it's okay? My Irish ancestry? When it merged with Ireland? He said, we're all African.
Yeah.
And so he thinks that's superficial. And I thought that's interesting. I just heard that recently. Because I just did my DNA. I did African ancestry, and I did 23andMe.
Okay.
23andMe gave me all my health issues. African ancestry told me which tribes I'm mixed with. Nigerian is the most on my mother's side. On my father's side, 100% Ghanaian, right? Then we throw in there on my mother and father's side, European, okay? 1% Japanese and Korean. Listen, I'm telling you, everybody's gotten a little bit of it. 0.3% Filipino. You go in your ancestry, it'll blow your mind. Listen, you go in your ancestry, and complexion has nothing to do with it.
I was actually thinking about doing that.
It has nothing to do with it. You don't know, because if two people of the same complexion get together, it's going to create someone of the. Yeah. But that doesn't have anything to do with your ancestry. Yeah. This one actor, is a black actor, dark complected, found out that he was adopted. His family were slaves to Indians. That's why his last name is the last name it is. I forget. He's a pretty serious actor. He's good. He did it. Don Cheadle.
Yeah.
His family were slaves to Indians in America. They're right. His family was slaves to Indians.
To Indians?
To Indians, American Indians. That's why his last name is Cheeto.
Hush your mouth, boy.
No, I'm not kidding you. Listen, the more you find out, the more you realize it's a human issue. It has nothing to do with how short.
Okay, I didn't even know that was a thing. You know
it is a yes.
I'm just letting you know. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Anything that we're doing now has been done. The only difference between now and before, it's easier for it to spread around the world because we communicate better than we ever had. That's why we could do, everyone in the modern world wears masks now. But they couldn't have done this before. They would have had the coronavirus in Wuhan. It would have got a few people there, and wherever it went to, and you would have heard about it a couple of weeks later, and by that time it would have solved itself out. But now, whatever powers would be decided all of us put on a mask, the new normal. They start calling it a name. But they didn't do that with the N1H1 swine flu. They didn't do it that. So I don't know why, but they can do it now. All of us find out the news that quick. Someone 5 minutes from now dies on the other side of the earth. I can put it on a portable phone, and boom, and it'll be at the top of the news feed.
Yeah.
So come on, but we couldn't do that before.
No.
But we were doing it. Somebody was dying many years ago in Columbus. All those, they were doing the same. Incest, all this stuff was happening. We were eating each other's babies and stuff. But now we call it cannibalism. I was calling survival because it's wintertime, and strongest in the cave, and I'm going to make it to another woman, and I'll find another woman. Somebody's got to eat here. But you understand what I'm saying? And the more you think about it, and another reason why this physicist thinks this way, because he thinks from when you're outside of this planet looking back, how insignificant the planet looks. It's like looking at a flea and realizing that flea has other insects on it. And they have something on them. And we just can't. When you start thinking like that, you get out of yourself a little bit. But we still have to deal with this reality as we know it. I'm getting off into other stuff. But that's how I try to look at things when I'm going through it, and try not to make my problems bigger because of that person in the mirror that tries to make them bigger for me.
That's true. Isn't that true?
Sometimes I have to slap that cat across the face and get mad at him. I'm telling you, there's been times I've been in my bathroom, closed door, nobody's at home, and scream at him. I get mad. I've done that a couple times because things were bad. And I said, will you stop it? I love you. Will you stop? Get that out your head. Stop it.
I don't know. I think I was there this morning.
You said, hey.
This week.
And it won't be the last time. I promise. I guarantee
I'm telling you, this whole thing is just trying to build something for our family, continue to build for our family and for our community, and then get through owning 2 businesses and, and just have employees and making sure everybody is okay. There's only so much that your humanness can take you,
Well, there's sometimes, that's why I think that sometimes a different thinking can come in too. Like the things we've been taught about ownership. I have a different belief about that because my brother said something very profound to me. He said, Lance, it's all on loan. And that was so freeing to me. What? He's right, because I'm not guaranteed to have my left hand. But I could lose in an accident when I leave here and may not have it. So this idea of ownership is just an idea. So why can't I borrow it and use it for a while? Why do I have to say I own it? What responsibilities come with what? Because if you rent this space, for example, let me put it this way. When I was over the Tokyo American Club, when I was president there, we had just built this new facility.
That's what I was wondering.
$300 million. I'm the one that opened it.
That's what I thought.
Cost $300 million to open it. $300 million. And that was, we had a lot of challenges going through that too, being the first and only black president they've ever had. And I like being black and everything I believe a black person should be. I like me, and nobody could ever be with me and assume I didn't. Like there's sometimes some people forget their ethnicity, or it's not that important to them. So they're, hey Bob, how you been? Or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. They lose it. Not that you have to talk in a way where people can't understand you, but I've never seen an Irish person who came from Ireland not use his accent. Or a French person come from France, not feeling good about having a French accent or being French, or a German guy, or whatever. But why should I not feel good
about being who
I am? And I like who I am. I like the way I sound. I try to make sure I articulate in a way that people can understand me from wherever they are, if they understand regular English. I don't use a lot of terminology that may be like certain slang and stuff that you might only use in our area, because they wouldn't understand it. Something like when I was growing up, we used to call each other, black people, splibs. You didn't know that. That's my father said, a splib. We said, or boo. Hey, boo.
Yeah, I remember that.
See?
Yeah.
But see, you wouldn't understand it though.
My husband wouldn't even let me call him boo.
So you say, no, you wouldn't know.
No, I was like, hey, boo. He was going like, don't be calling me no boo. I know you know what, I scared you. Don't be.
But there's something some people don't understand.
Yeah.
So we go through all these. We try to make ourselves understood. So that's what I try to do. But the thing is, when I started that club, the one thing I was going to tell you that I did, I knew it cost $300 million to build, and that's just a number, but it's a pretty large number.
It is.
I felt it was mine. for those 2 years I was over, that belonged to me. And because at the end of every year, on the tax return, my name went.
Yeah.
So for all practical purposes, if anything happened there, embezzlement or anything else, I'd be the one taking the blame. So that's ownership. Just because my name, why? If I could rent this building, why wouldn't I? Why do I? Somebody else has to pay property tax on it, not me.
When I was looking at the years and I was remembering when you were there, I was like, and everybody kept saying, "Oh, it's not that old." Like the facility.
2011, we opened.
And I was like, there had to be when Lance was there when that was happening. Man.
I cut the ribbon. I have pictures of me cutting the ribbon and everything, smiling with the ambassador.
Boy,
Ambassador Roos. Tell me,
See,
yeah.
When I say I got goals,
No.
that's actually, I told you that's what I
But
want to do.
that actually, not to open the place, but to be present. When I came there, when I saw the place, I was a teacher at the American school, and I was teaching physical education. And these little kids would be picked up and they were talking about the American Club. What do you mean, American Club? So I got on the bus one day and came into downtown Tokyo with them, saw the club, and I could smell money in the club. It just smelled like money.
Yeah.
These people had beautiful cars out in front. I went up and saw this roll of presidents, and all of them looked all white. And just kidding to myself, but half real, I said, there's not a black person up there. I'm going to be the first black. I wasn't even a member yet. And my secretary, my first secretary I ever had, still close. There's 4 women I call really close to me that helped me get to where I'm at. Kaori remembers me taking her there and saying one day, I'm going to be up there. The time it happened wasn't the time I was thinking. I didn't want to be over that facility. I don't know that much about $300 million.
I hear you.
But they challenged me. Tried not to put me in. It's like, you've seen Back to the Future?
Yeah.
And McFly when they said, chicken?
Yeah.
No. Then he'd want to race? Well, tell me I can't do something in me flips. At that time, I'm a little bit older and wiser now. Don't tell me I can't. I was there. I was there. And I don't want to say it I won't say it in this podcast, but I had some severe challenges. I'll tell you after the podcast some of those, and maybe someday later in the future, some people know. But I had some challenges that I think make you really wonder how bad you want it. No. But the American Chamber, I was president of the American Chamber too, so I'm the only American so far to be president of both, the American Chamber and the American Club. Now, we have a person that's the president, he calls himself president now, but after my presidency, they changed the rules. So the people in that position now, they put a picture up there and say president, are governor representatives. They're not elected by the membership. They're elected by the board, and they're for 1-year term, and they can do a maximum of 4 years. Okay. But they have to be, and they can be taken out of that position by the board. I couldn't have been taken out by the board. So there was a time when half the board didn't agree with what I was doing or how I was handling it. They always stayed on my case. But they'd have to call a general meeting and they'd have to get all the members to say, okay, they reelected me for a 2nd term. So I didn't have popularity in my board. We just didn't, didn't mesh right. I can tell you some stuff about that. I'll do that afterwards too. Yeah, we didn't mesh right, so I always came to one bottom denominator, which I'll tell you also later, but we had to get to. But anyway, so tell me more about. So, what are your plans for the future here? Tell me about that.
This past week I was like, I'm ready to go home.
Really? Are you thinking about? You think you will go home eventually?
No. We're making Japan home. Only reason, my mom is sick at the moment, and that's, that kind of gets to you.
How many siblings do you have?
Only 2, just my brother and I. That's
Are you the oldest or
youngest? No, I'm the youngest.
And how many years between you and him?
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah,
so, but were you guys you couldn't have been that close?
We were not close when we were kids.
Same mom and dad?
Yeah, same mom and dad.
Yeah.
We were not close when we were kids. He was,
he had his own friends,
and
yeah,
his
sure.
own thing, and at that time, I was a little sister that he didn't want because
gotcha. He'd had that spotlight all his,
He had for 5 years.
5 years, yeah, that's a long time. He was aware.
We didn't get close until when I went off to university.
Okay.
And he was still in graduate school.
Okay.
But my brother is like a genius. Well, he is a genius.
There you go.
And so my one regret in life is giving up the piano. Simply because in my mind, it felt like he learned how to play piano in 1 month. Like he mastered it. Like literally. That's
your regret, is giving up piano?
Yes, because I love piano. But I gave up because as a kid, I was always compared to him. And I was smart, but I wasn't a genius. You know what I mean? But there were times that I was just like, I remember I won a math competition in school. And they asked me, they was like, oh, how did you do that? And I was just like, y'all the one who stereotyped me into thinking that I couldn't. It wasn't that I ever could. Since I wasn't exactly like him, then they felt like I couldn't do nothing.
Oh, so that's the one thing that's sad about going to the same school as one of your siblings.
Yeah.
My older brother he's 4 years older than me. And when I got into class, I got in elementary school, and that set the course for me. And my father also put me in a year too early.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even mature enough as the other kids. I was always picked last. This is no joke. Before the kid that had one leg, I'd be picked after him. Because I couldn't hit the ball as far. I was in school when I was 4, everybody else was 5. Yeah. That makes a big difference.
It makes a very big difference.
But it made a very aggressive little kid too. Because these kids could beat me up and swing me around, but I just wouldn't stop. You grabbed the wrong kid's arm.
You've been like this and you've been
shoot. They just came in. They would corner me. I'd get jobs like I'd be the hall monitor, and the big boys, and I'd stand there like this, and they'd block me into a corner. They did that one time in the bathroom, and I thought they were going to jump me, and I didn't know what I was going to do, and the bell rang. But they probably saw something in my eyes, because I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't cry. But I didn't know what, but I wasn't, they got me back as far as they could. But I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
So
I didn't know.
Yeah, so we got much closer when I was in university.
Is he married as well?
He is. My brother has 7 kids, and I have to say it's by the same wife,
Yeah, right, because a lot of times that many kids, usually it isn't.
Yeah, back in the day,
That's right.
Tell me about that people would have kids.
Tell me about it, yeah.
My dad has 11 brothers and sisters, but a lot of them now, today, nobody have kids over 4 kids.
They don't have me for, no. When I had 4 kids, everybody saying, what are you doing? Because everybody was having most 2. Or 1. I have a brother that had 1 kid. They'd have 1. They weren't doing this 4. But I did that because I was thinking, I wanted to be the same. Because I had an older brother and I have 2 younger sisters. Yeah. So I was trying to make the same thing. And I was hoping for 4 girls or 2 girls and 2 boys. And the Universal Force said, nah, you're getting 4 boys.
Well, the first 5, the first 4 are boys, and the last 3 are girls. So it was
your brother's kids.
Yes, so they were trying. But my brother, he's an engineer, so he was always traveling. Right. And I promise every time he came home,
he was making a baby.
Yeah, every single time. So I think when it got to around the 5th kid, his wife Deja was just like, hey. You need to come home.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is getting kind of busy around here.
You need to come home. I can't be taking care of these kids by myself. So he did. But it was, but by that time, he and I have gotten much closer. You realize we thought our family were pretty much a close family, but then, those were those hidden conversations that you just don't have.
Those, yes.
And, families have those things, and then we've begun to talk about those things over time, and which has made us closer and closer. So I appreciate and love the relationship that we have now, but we definitely didn't have that in the beginning. No. Definitely. No. But I love him very much.
Well, but yes, I know I'm not supposed to ask a woman's age, but we're international. What's your age now? How old are you?
Now, actually next month, November 7th, I turn 45.
Go ahead, girl. Good. I thought you were younger than that.
Yeah,
I actually did.
Sure, I did. 45. What you talking about? I'm thinking you just hitting 60. If you hit 60, I'm going like, what you mean? You like, boy? I didn't think you were nowhere near the age that you said. So, but because you have to realize. You sit up and said when you got out of the military, I was born in 1975. I was like, dang, I'm in between. What you talking about? So
I've been here longer than you. Right. Like, I was over here before you were born.
Yes.
That's right. You were born in 76.
75.
75, and I came here in 74. Yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
Like,
before you were born.
I'm going like, dang.
That's
really?
Right. That's right. So it has been 76 years now.
Yes. So I'm getting here, but I remember because when I first got here, and our visa, we started teaching anyway. So I taught for ACAWA school as well, language school, and I remember I enjoyed it for a moment. I really did. I enjoyed it because I love people, and I have to say that I really love people and being able to talk with them, and However, I remember when we moved to a new school, new location, or whatever. And even though I was doing well, you know how just one day that the classrooms were bigger, but it seemed like it was closing in on you, and I don't know. That's just how it felt for me.
That's how it felt. Okay.
So I knew that my period in time was.
You were done.
It was done.
You were burning out. That's the call being burning.
But I come to. I remember I listened to this sermon a long time ago. It was by Bishop T.D. Jakes, but he was talking about the nest. And the eaglets, how the mama eagle builds up the nest up in a very, very high place in the mountains. And basically, when the eaglets are born, the nest is comfortable. It's a good place. There's nothing wrong with it. So me teaching for all those years, there's nothing wrong with teaching all those years. It was good for me. But then there comes a time in life when it's time for you to do something different. And it's time for you to move on. And you got to make a choice of whether or not it's going to be, for you. Are you going to live the life for you, or are you going to keep living it for somebody else? And I wanted to choose me and go after my dreams and go after my goal. And literally, I remember I was sitting in the living room of my house, and when I was listening to that sermon, he said the eaglets started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And they knew as they got bigger that they had to jump. It wasn't nothing else that they could do.
Right,
but she made it so they were in such a high place that they had a good enough time that they could fall a little bit.
Right.
And it felt like they were going to fall, but eventually they were going to soar. And I was going like, is that for me? And it was so funny. I was sitting in my living room in my house, and we had wood carvings in this house that we rented. Been there at that time, maybe three years, I want to say, lived there. And I'm laying down on the bed looking up at these wood carvings. And here I am looking at an eagle that's in the wood carving that's diving down. I ain't been there for 3 years and
never noticed
saw that.
Never
And I've been looking at these carvings but never saw that
eagle. Isn't that interesting?
And I was going like...
It was a wood carving?
It was a wood carving. You know how they have the shoji rooms?
Yeah.
And it was just like...
Right, I got you, yeah.
Yeah,
and there
it
was.
And there it was. And I was just like... Well, I guess it's time for me to jump. That was no.
That's what it did. Isn't that something?
It was time. It was time to jump, and you have to realize when you jump, it ain't like you're gonna jump and say everything's gonna be perfect. And that's what people have to realize when they're wanting to start a business or start something
whatever
new,
it may be, yeah.
or whatever it is that may be. It doesn't mean, it's just whether or not you're gonna take that leap of faith and follow your dream and follow your goal and keep going.
No matter what.
And in the beginning, when I did that and I decided to leave my job, and we were going to do it. Then I found out I got pregnant.
That's what happened.
And that was right after we had started setting up the corporation for our business.
Okay.
So we had just filed that and then got pregnant, and then my doctor put me on bed rest.
Wow.
And I was going like, what the heck? Like, really? But what I realized is that anybody wants to start their business before they have kids, you know what I mean? But Jonas was so important to the process. Like, I am convinced this place wouldn't be here. Soul Food House wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Jonas.
You had a purpose bigger than you.
He had to be here in order for it. Because like I told you before, we were going to open up a cafe. So if Jonas, when he was born, the whole menu changed when he was inside of me, because it was just like, if I feel this way, how many other people feel that way? And it turned out to be a whole bunch of people who missed some home cooked food, or just needed a hug, or just needed to feel like they were coming to a place that was home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it turned out to be so many people when you're having a good day or a celebration or just having a bad day, but you just need that taste of home. That's what Soul Food House is.
That's what we're talking
so
about.
So then Jonas he contributed to that. But then what people don't know about is that when our business partner passed away, because everything was in his name, at that time in Japan, a lot of times they didn't want to rent to foreign. You know what I mean? They told us that we needed to get a divorce and then marry Japanese, literally.
So that you can have someone to support it.
So we can have like a guarantee.
Right, guarantee.
And we decided not to do that. And literally, I remember we had Marcus, and Marcus helped us to get this building. He would own a place called 148 beforehand. It was an Australian Chinese cuisine. But he found out he had brain cancer. And so he wanted to pass this on, because he had just had this location for a couple of years, and he had 2 staff, and he wanted to make sure they were taken care of. So he asked us, he said, would you take care of them? And then when we agreed to that, then we took it over for him. But when he passed away, the transfer fee was only supposed to be $1,000, like Jumayan. That was it. However, they told us, no, you need to pay 4.2 million yen at that time to put everything, to start from scratch, not the transfer. They didn't want to do the transfer anymore. We had already put down a couple of million yen before then. But it was so interesting. When we went in, we tried to find that money everywhere because we had only 2,000 in the bank. Literally, the day of closing, we let people know what was happening on Facebook, and then we were able to raise 2 million. But then the owner said all or nothing. So we went into the bank, into the office to go sign the papers to say that we were not going to be able to do this. And my husband, I drove, and Jonas was with us, and I told he was going to go in because he's done all the paperwork. He came and he said, he came back to the car. He was like, I can't go in here by myself. Please come with me, because it just felt, he was. And I said, okay. We parked the car. We went in together, and then they started playing with Jonas. The staff, the owner wasn't there at the time. So then when they said, oh, some people are in here waiting for you to sign some paper for the fire insurance. And I was like, we could have signed the other papers. But David went in there anyway. He was like, okay, let's go sign these papers just in case. But when the owner came in, Jonas disappeared. We didn't know where he was in the office. They had been playing with him. We're going like, where is my baby? And then it was like, oh, come into the office. And so, you're going into the office, but I'm still looking for my child. And the owner turns his chair around to get ready to sit down. And these big black chairs and whatever. And he was about to sit down because guess what? Nobody sits in the owner's chair. But who was sitting there? Jonas. The owner bust out, started laughing so hard. And he was just like, this child sitting in my chair. He was so and it was, his whole demeanor changed. And then he just sat on the arm of his chair while Jonas, he didn't ask Jonas to get up. He let him continue sitting there. And then he just said, how much time do you need?
Look at that, see?
Now, that's part 2 to the story.
Okay.
The second part was that we told him that we had already raised 2. We needed another 2.2. So the person who came in for lunch or brunch for the first time the week before, that Sunday before all this was happening, said, please tell me your story. And just in case you don't know who I am, I was here with, at this party, and sent me a picture of him playing with my son.
Wow.
He brought in the rest of the money.
Look at that. There's something. Everything you get comes through or from someone else.
That's why relationship is so important.
I'm telling you, it is. And it's even better if you went to school with them.
Yeah. Those said that is true. That is true.
If you want to build him up and give him something, you see, right now, I use this analogy. I'm going to end with this part. When you have your kids, everyone wants to cherish their freedom, their space. So right now, Jonas feels like he's in a little jar. Okay. Now, when he gets older, he's going to want to feel like he's free. So what you do is you bring him in this room and you let him out the jar. Now he really thinks he has freedom, but you still control the room.
Yeah. You got that right.
See what I'm saying? My sons can't do anything around. I hear about it. He'll come out. I saw your son today. I say, you're in my town, son. You're going to have to go to another place that I haven't been for you to get outside of my realm of influence. But that's what you try to do. Yeah. It's who you know. And it depends on how you decide to do it.
Right? Jonas got lost in one of the Mott cities a couple of years ago. Well, he didn't get lost. I don't know.
He went his own way.
He went his own way. But he went his own way at what, 3 years old? You know what I'm going? I'm going like, you know how many people are in Mott City and Azerbaijan, you know what I mean?
But he's in the best place in the world, though. Yeah.
Exactly. David got outside before he can go. It was like, oh, we saw Jonas. He was going his way to the park.
You know what I'm saying? And then, but see, in the right place. There's no other place on the planet like this.
Yes.
Yeah. This is one of the biggest cities in the world. Right?
Yeah.
And you always feel safe. You always feel, protected.
Yeah.
And you get mad at other parents because they don't pay attention. Their kids are way behind them, and they're 3 years old. And you're like, how can they? Because they are from here.
That's right.
That's all they know. And we get mad at them. How can you let your kid be that far? They're a block away from you, and they're 2 years old. Somebody can hit them. Nobody. They're thinking, look. Well, you should saw me when I was a little kid, and these streets were just, just granite and stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, you better catch up. No, I'm leaving.
We were like that when we first got here. Yeah. Our friend's daughter went to the park, And she was just walking out by herself. We going like,
What are you doing? What's up with you?
What's going on? Should we walk with her?
Now I have to admit that I was pretty strict with my sons when they were growing up because I don't come from that kind of environment.
Yeah.
And I do plan on having them travel, and I want them to get a false sense of security and be of color and go someplace and think it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And my wife once said, well, but they're Japanese. I said, I understand. They're not half of anything. They're Japanese, and they're also American, blind.
Yeah.
But when people see them, that's not what they're going to see.
That's not what they're going to see.
So I said, the day they can walk outside and everyone thinks they're Japanese first, Dad, I won't say anything else. I'll be cool. But they look like me. And as long as they do, and I tell my sons this, the thing they should do, and I tell them it's going to make it easier for them, don't speak to people in Japanese. Because if you do, people are going to assume your mother had you without having a husband. The ones that matter. Some people think that. But you want to avoid that. If you speak it, if you speak in English, they're going to assume your father must be a diplomat. You went to international schools, first of all, and they're going to assume you don't speak Japanese. Now, when that comes out, it's like when Superman, he never did like this and said, hey, let me show you. He didn't get around people and said, let me show you. Bullets bounce off my chest, and I can see through buildings. No, he'd bump around and, have these glasses on, act like he couldn't see. And so people appreciate it. When my sons speak Japanese afterwards, it's like going like this. They go, you can fly? But don't ever start off with that. And I used to use that same thing as a gymnast. I'm going to end with this, because I'm going to let this go, because we've been here for how long? What's the time now?
I don't even know. It's been great conversation.
Yeah, about an hour. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this afterwards then, because I could go on and on and on. But thank you so much for this time. Thank you.
No,
It's been great.
Great time.
It's been great. It's been fantastic.